Hey, everybody. I hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the Word. And today that word is abstain. Abstain. Now, I think a lot of times in life, we've heard that just say no and turn drugs down and alcohol, turn away from those things that will get you into trouble and get you to a place you don't need to be. And we know this even as adults, right? We hear it as kids, but as adults, we know and we have seen the terrible things that um, all sorts of things can do to a person. Hanging out with the wrong crowd, we see all those things that it does. Now, I want you to take a step back and think about how many times have you thought or have you heard about people saying, well, the Bible or God is just all about all the things you can't do, all the things that he says, well, you got to say no to that, you got to say no to that, you got to say no to that. Now, sometimes that's what we need to hear. There's also times where he tells us positively, hey, go and do this, go and do this, do that, say it in this way, he gives us clear directions. And there's one thing that the Israelites cannot say, that they do not have clear directions. That's what Leviticus. I mean, as much as we get into details, and now we're on a third sacrifice here, and you'll see this kind of peace offering that's given here. It's kind of a fellowship offering. It's more about being at fellowship with God because you have the redemption, that burnt sacrifice, you have that grain offering, that kind of gift back to the Lord, and now it's not only fellowship offering in the way between you and God, but also the fellowship between other believers. Now, with that, right, you say, well, what does that have to do with what we can do and can't do? Well, God is giving them specific directions of what they can eat and what they cannot eat. What parts are given to the Lord, what parts are given to the priest. And in this case today, what part that the offerer, the one who is giving the offering, giving the gift, giving the sacrifice, what part they get to partake in. Now, we haven't seen that with the other ones. But it's interesting here, the last two verses of chapter 3. It's at the end of him talking about, if you were, he goes through different animals, as you can, as always, I encourage you to read the whole chapter. And here it's kind of the end of the goat, and then it's the end of kind of summarizing all of these. Verse 16, he says, and the priest shall burn them on the altar as food, an offering made by fire. Now, catch this again, for a sweet aroma. All the fat is the Lord's. This shall be a perpetual statute throughout your generations in all your dwellings. You shall eat neither fat nor blood. Now, I know some of you saying, well, look, he said all the fat is the Lord's, and Lord, you can have it, take it away. And I know that'd be nice. I mean, that'd be the easy diet plan. Say, well, Lord, all this fat that I have, it's all yours. Take it, please. Take it now. But look in context, because there's no way you say, well, look, there's plenty of other things that they're eating that have fat in them. Absolutely, they do. There are particular things that he's mentioning here and where they're at in the animal's body that they're almost like pure fat. And he's saying, no, that part goes to the Lord. Now, there's differences of opinions as to why that is. Some would say, okay, well, that's the most flavorful part, and so the best belongs to the Lord. Okay, hey, I'll take that, absolutely. The best does belong to the Lord. Others will say, okay, well, that's the thing that, he despises, the fat portion of it, and that's why he wants to get rid of it. Okay, maybe you can see some arguments there for that. But I think hidden behind all of it, or maybe right in plain sight, is the fact that there's also health benefits that God prescribes as he goes along. There's different things that he tells them how to eat it and how not to eat it. You see this throughout Scripture. And a lot of it actually would have prevented disease, would have kept them safe from any, cross contamination. I mean, we think about that today as like second nature, but think about it, they didn't have that education. They didn't have that knowledge. Well, where do you think they got it from? They got it from the Lord. And I'm sure that somebody Somebody had been sick because they cooked something wrong. Somebody had been sick, or maybe even worse because they ate too much of one thing or another. But I think today, the fact that he says abstain, so that you shall never, this is a statute that's going to be going on and on and on. Do not eat the fat nor the blood. Now, he'll talk about the blood, making sure the blood is drained out of everything as they eat it as well. But here, the fat, again, just a reminder, he's not talking about the fat that would be intrinsically just already in the meat that they were eating, because that would be impossible to remove every last bit of it. He's really, as you look in the context, he's talking about the fat that's like really like surrounding the organs and different places like that. And one of them I was reading as you look to the sheep, and it talks about even to cut off the whole tail and give it to the Lord. That those particular sheep that would have been in that area, and more likely what kind of sheep it would have been, that their tails alone weighed about 16 pounds, and it was nothing but fat. Now, I don't care how good it tastes, that's not something health-wise that we need. Now, take that in context and understand that just because God says no, abstain from that, doesn't mean that he's trying to be mean to you. It doesn't mean that he's trying to keep you from having good things. God was telling them through it all, hey, I'm trying to look out for you. And we may know that now looking at it, but I wonder how many other things through the Old Testament. And I'll be honest, I wonder how many things that we already have prescribed for us in the New Testament are just the same, if they weren't also a health benefit for us. Right? We know, hey, Good Baptist Church, we don't talk about fasting a lot, but that's something that pleases the Lord and has great health benefits as well. That's not the reason we should do it. I mean, as far as if we're trying to get in a closer relationship with God. But it all comes back to the reasons that he says to do the things that his word says. It's just that simple, right? Abstain from what he tells us to abstain from, right? Just the same as he says abstain, stay away from all evil. Here he's prescribing for them, as you are being obedient to my word, abstain from the things, stay away from the things that I've told you to give to the Lord. At the end, when you tear all of this stuff down, you tear everything away, it is simply giving God what belongs to him and what he has commanded, and then understanding that what you're blessed to still receive yourself, what you're blessed to be able to partake of yourself, is a gift from God. Today, don't look at the no's that God gives you as him just trying to keep you from having fun or keep you from doing what you might think would be more enjoyable. Maybe, just maybe, God is trying to keep you healthy, keep you in line, and keep you away from the enemy. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.